Hello everyone, this is David Aguzzi again with the BJJ Talk. I released the first episode yesterday, which was an introduction to the topics I wanted to discuss. But when releasing the video, several people brought up some certain criticisms that I believe were valid. And I want to address them because it's always important to address your criticisms. The two things that were addressed were, one, you need to raise the production of this web series if I'm going to keep watching it. I agree. I'm going to have to raise the production of this web series. I've added some more lighting. Hopefully you noticed. I'm going to talk a little louder. I'm dressed a little better. I added a painting. And eventually we'll take this into an actual office. Maybe we'll use the grappling industry office. Or go to a gym lobby, somewhere where lots of lighting, just a nice atmosphere for a video, empty space, maybe in the park when we get special guests on the show. A second criticism I received when posting the video and distributing the video among other sites like Reddit or SureDog or MMA TV were questions like, why should I trust you? What have you done in Jiu-Jitsu? How are you involved in understanding these topics? Which is a very great question. I should have explained that in the first video on the introduction. I touched on it a little bit, so I'll touch on it now more. I own 50% of a company named Grappling Industries. It's a martial arts tournament, a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament in Canada. It runs 14 rings, it gives out grand prize trips, it video records the entire event, it uploads it. It's really well organized. It's a very interesting event. It's one of two events in all of Canada that actually promotes in two provinces. The other one is the Canadian Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, which is out west in Alberta and British Columbia. Grappling Industries is working inside of Ontario and Quebec, which is the epicenter of grappling in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in Canada. So in that sense, as a promoter, as a big owner, 50% owner of a huge grappling industries brand that's becoming a big player in the tournament industry out here in Canada and is now expanding to the northeast of the States, I feel I have a lot of knowledge on these topics. Like the mats, like the sponsorships, like the website traffic, how to make money in Jiu-Jitsu, how to budget it, and how to make it last, and how to spend it. Our company owns assets such as like 14 rings of mats, 14 laptops, 14 LCDs, 14 cameras, barricades, trucking, handling, storage. When you really get deep into a business in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you find out a lot about who you are, like Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu teaches you, but you find out a lot about it's not that hard to obtain assets in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu if you have the right ideas and you apply them properly. Other things I think that have helped me become a good promoter, and that's really what I believe I am first. I believe I'm a promoter. I've really taken that title seriously over mainly the last year. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt. I got into promoting because at one point in Jiu-Jitsu, a lot of people want to open a gym. And it's either you open a gym or you find something else to do. And for myself, I wanted to find something in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that could keep me active in just Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu while I looked at my MMA aspirations. And in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I thought I wanted to run a tournament. So that's really what I decided to do. And I have a great business partner and we have a great product. But along the way, other people have pulled me in because of how involved I've been in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. As a brown belt, you've obviously put some years in. I started Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu when I was 11 and I'm 26 years old now. I've been a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu brown belt for kind of like a while now. And I'm training out of TriStar Gym, Zahabi MMA, under Faraz Zahabi. I actually started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Faraz Zahabi's older brother, Ahmad Zahabi, which was a Nova Yam affiliation under Wagner Fabiano. So the whole history, I was there really at the beginning of history when Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu came to Quebec, or really essentially Canada in that sense. Canada really started in Montreal and Toronto BJJ and a gym named Gamma. Toronto BJJ is now a Ribeiro affiliate, and Gamma is now Gamma again, which used to be BTT Canada, which is a really big affiliate gym to Brazilian Top Team. For those of you who are familiar with the Canadian BTT. So I've done jiu-jitsu for a long time. I own half a tournament. Last Grapplers Quest in Toronto, I staffed the whole Grapplers Quest referee team. I was the head referee for Grapplers Quest. It was an honor to work with Brian Simmons. He's someone I always looked up to. We've always had great chats together, and I just really liked working with him. I liked working for Grapplers Quest that day and learning a lot about how Grapplers Quest runs. It's great to have someone like Brian Simmons help you out, mentor you on certain subjects, be willing to offer you a hand with some knowledge. That type of stuff will pay you dividends. You want to be friends with a lot of people who can offer you advice in return. I worked with Naga once. When Naga first came to Montreal, me and my business partner were responsible for getting Naga its insurance certificate. Thus, I know a lot about insurance certificates now. You have to understand Grappling Industries is the only event inside of Quebec and Ontario in Canada that is not sanctioned, but under an association. Because like I said in the first video, the word sanctioning shouldn't exist. So in that sense, I understand a lot about what you need from an insurance policy to run an event and what kind of laws you need to follow to run an event or to hold a gym, or in apparel like making rash guards and gis, you need to follow certain laws as well, which will be an interesting video in the future. I'm also responsible for sponsoring a lot of fighters. I sponsor a lot of fighters with my business partner under Grappling Industries name, where we devised a way to get these fighters fights where it wouldn't cost them money to actually compete, which is what people essentially want. They want sponsorship so they can enter tournaments and not have to pay the big registration fees. I'm able, with my business partner in that sense, to sponsor fighters because I know a lot about what it takes to get sponsored. When I was competing full-time in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I was sponsored by Sprawl. I was sponsored by Nogi Industries before it was owned by Budo Videos and owned by Chris Brennan, back in the day when they were having the rivalry with Nogi Brazil. I was sponsored by Tap Out for the Mondials. I've been sponsored by tons of shops like Grappling Weekly, Grappler's Planet, Fight Planet, The Gi Hive, and now I'm currently sponsored by brands such as Red Star BJJ, Kimura Wear, and one really recognized one, Fear the Fighter. Obviously, if you watch UFC, you've seen the Fear the Fighter logo. It's become really, really big. It's owned by John McDessie's brother, David McDessie. I have a great relationship with John McDessie, training with him at TriStar Gym. So that was obviously just logic that we all get together and we sponsor our projects as well, like they sponsor John. So in this sense, I'm very fortunate to have worked with so many great brands. I'm fortunate to understand what they want from me and what I can give them back. And I'm fortunate that I can actually give them what they need to continue these sponsorship arrangements. You're going to learn in sponsorship, in the sponsorship video that we do eventually, that it's really like a hike. You're going to start looking for sponsors and it's going to be really hard. You're going to look, you're going to look, you're going to look, and then someone's going to offer you some gear. You're going to finally get some free gear. You're going to look, you're going to look, you're going to look with your free gear, and then someone's going to offer you some money. And then eventually, and I really hope for you that you're going to make a lot of money eventually because you're going to be a really good fighter and you're going to have lots of sponsors. This is what I hope for anyone. And what's going to happen is you're going to have so many sponsors that some of them are going to start getting, anxious. They're going to argue that their space is not used as properly. They want to say that you're advertising people who are in competition with them. So in this sense, you're going to learn about exclusivity, where you need to be exclusive to a brand. And then now you're reducing brands that are sponsoring you. So it's a really interesting ride in sponsorship, and this is something I know a lot about. You're going to struggle to find sponsors. You're going to find sponsors. You're going to get a lot of sponsors, and then you're going to have to drop a couple because it's not making sense anymore having all these patches on you or wearing all these different clothes each day. Basically, this video is just about that. I just wanted to touch on why some people say that why are you leading the discussion? And I'm not leading the discussion in this video. I'm very much just trying to bring these topics to the forefront. I want people to talk about the associations, and I want people to talk about the pricing in jiu-jitsu, and I want people to talk about how to get sponsors, how to properly blog jiu-jitsu. When people ask me what's a good reason to keep coming back to this web series, the reason why you should keep coming back to this web series is probably because you're going to learn something. Even if you have some knowledge and some theories of how things work, there's always going to be something else that someone can teach you that you might not know. I'm always asking other promoters questions. I'm always curious as to what they can teach me. The reason for this is because it's education. You know, I do not know what other tournaments do, how much they spend on certain subjects, unless I become friends with them and we exchange knowledge. I ask him where he gets his medals and how much he pays for his medals, and in turn he asks me where I got my medals and how much I spent on my medals. Stuff like this is knowledge sharing, and it's very, very, very important in the industry, be it apparel, gym, or tournament. The next video I'm going to put out is going to start talking about sponsorships. It's going to talk about very much what type of reach do you have to do. What I mean by reach is, how do you reach out to a sponsor? Do you go on their Facebook page and send them a message saying, look, I'm looking for sponsorship? They're not going to answer you. Do you send them an email saying, how do I get sponsored, or can I have a phone number for sponsorship? They still might not answer you. Something I've learned about being sponsored is that to actually reach the companies for a sponsorship referral is really difficult. And it's really difficult because every time they get asked, and they get asked all the time, will you sponsor me? They have to say, well, damn, you know, if we sponsor everyone, we're going to be out of money. Or if we sponsor everyone, then how are we going to make money back? Unless, you know, because not everyone is going to make sales back for this company. So I essentially in that video want to talk about how you should be pitching yourself to a company. You need to tell them on the first email, in the first line, almost like a thesis, like as if you're writing an essay. You have to be able to tell them, listen, this is what I can offer back in reach and potential sales to your company by you patching me or you sponsoring me. As an event organizer, for example, I'm at an advantage. To sponsor us, a company will get a booth at our event. And the booth at our event, they can sell goods straight to the people at the tournament. A competitor, for example, doesn't have that advantage. A competitor has to wear the apparel and use word of mouth and traffic websites, social media to actually get that brand's name out. Where I'm actually offering them a sales location to actually make sales that day. So off the bat, you're going to notice that events, and especially MMA events, are going to have a much higher chance of getting sponsors and bigger name sponsors than jiu-jitsu tournaments, jiu-jitsu gyms, and then finally jiu-jitsu competitors of all people. Because jiu-jitsu is not televised, it's not to a huge mass. There's a lot of things you need to do to make yourself seem famous to be able to get those sponsors. And that's what we're going to discuss next video. About if you're going to ask me for $100, I want to know, how do I get $200 back without it coming out of your pockets? Because I gave you $100. I just want to know that in the long run, I'm going to make my money back. Or else if I give $100 to everyone, I'm going to go broke. And that's what we're going to talk about next video, on how to get sponsored, how to approach a sponsor, how do you recognize which sponsors are good for you. So I hope you understood this video, you saw where I was coming from, you understood some of the experiences I've had in Jiu-Jitsu. I've worked with pretty much everyone in the Canadian Jiu-Jitsu community now. I've worked with tons of brands. I've promoted tons of events. I own lots of assets in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And most of all, I love Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I love being on the mats. I own so many damn mats. I love being on the mats, and I love wearing a gi. Even though MMA is where the money is at nowadays, I can never leave Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. It's absolutely what I love to do. And this web series is just trying to give away some of the knowledge that I have and just try to educate people on some of the business aspects of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I believe that some people might be interested in. Not everyone's going to be interested in. Some people prefer a video series on how to do armbar variations from the spider web or how to attack the back. But I'm trying to reach the entrepreneurs of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu out there, the people who at the end of their Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu careers, when they get to brown and black belts and they don't want to become world champions in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, they went to university and they did stuff like that. How do you come up with ideas, and how do you apply those ideas? So I thank you for joining us today, and I look forward to seeing you next time when we talk about how to approach sponsors. Thank you.